You have so much more control over your productivity than you think. If you've ever felt stuck in this cycle of procrastination, where you're waiting, delaying, knowing exactly what you need to do, but somehow you're not doing it, I want you to know that there is a way out. You don't have to stay stuck. And the best part is that you don't need a complicated system or 100 different hacks to make a shift. What you really need is clarity, intention, and a willingness to confront the real reasons that are holding you back. And we are going to face them head on today in this video because the truth is that productivity is powerful. When you start taking consistent action towards your goals, you're not just checking off a to-do list. You are literally building the life of your dreams brick by brick. Every single action compounds. Every moment you choose action over avoidance is a moment where you are creating the future you want. Because that's how it happens. Big goals and big dreams, they don't just arrive in some grand life-changing event. They are built in the small and usually boring daily actions that you need to take over and over again. And if you have been struggling to actually get things done, I really want you to understand it's not because you're lazy or unmotivated. It's usually because something deeper is at play, something that's keeping you stuck in procrastination mode. And that is where we are going to start today. We are going to start by helping you face your limiting beliefs. If you want to break free from procrastination, you have to start by getting brutally honest with yourself about why you're stuck in the first place. Because here's the hard truth. Procrastination isn't about poor time management or lack of motivation. It's about fear. It's about resistance. And most importantly, it's about the limiting beliefs that you've been often carrying without realizing it. So we all have these limiting beliefs that run in the background like faulty programming, and they're quietly, sneakily influencing our actions, our habits, and our results. And when it comes to procrastination, these beliefs are often the real reason as to why you're stuck. So you might think that you're just lazy or easily distracted, but 9 times out of 10, there's a deeper fear that is running the show. And, sometimes it's that fear of failure, that nagging voice that just whispers in your head. What if you go all in and it doesn't work? What if you give it everything that you've got and you still fall flat on your face? And so instead of risking failure, you avoid taking that action altogether because if you never really try, you can never really fail, right? Other times, it's the fear of success. And oh my God, I've struggled with this one so much. And this is sneaky because it sounds counterintuitive, right? Because you're thinking, why would I be afraid of success? Like, this is exactly what I want. But think about it. Success comes with things. It comes with visibility. It comes with responsibility. It comes with higher expectations. And it might mean that people are going to notice you. People are going to depend on you, or they might even judge you because let's be honest, so many people in our lives can't tolerate when we're successful. And for some of us, that feels freaking terrifying because deep down we wonder, what if I can't handle it? What if I get there and then every single thing comes crashing down around me? So we procrastinate, not because we're not capable, but because the idea of what success might bring feels freaking overwhelming. And let's not forget that fear of being seen. This is really the one when it comes to success has always been huge for me, and a struggle that I'm still to this day working on overcoming. I've had those massive big goals and dreams that just light me up, but the idea of fully stepping into them and embodying them, and the actual idea of standing out, of being visible, the one that everybody looks at, terrifies me. Because, if I was successful, it means that I'm no longer gonna blend in. I'm gonna stick out like a sore thumb from the people around me, from my friends, from my family, from my colleagues. And that just felt really, really deeply uncomfortable for me. And this is why what would happen is that, I would always end up sabotaging my success. I'd reach a success metric and find a way to pull myself down. And I remember the countless times when I would map out these big, ambitious plans, all the details laid out, and then I'd just stall. A delay. I'd convince myself that I need more time. I need to invest in this coaching program. I need this, and this. And instead of just actually taking that next freaking step. And deep down, I wasn't stuck because I didn't know what to do. I was stuck because I was like freaking scared of what would happen if it actually worked. And I was scared of how people would perceive me, of how my relationships might shift, of, even if like whether I could maintain that level of success once I got there. And let me tell you this kind of fear based procrastination is really sneaky because on the surface, it looks like you're working. You're brainstorming, organizing, tweaking, preparing, but you're not doing anything to actually move forward. You're just circling the starting line over and over again, too scared to actually run the race. And it wasn't until I recognized that my procrastination wasn't a time management issue, but a mindset issue that everything shifted for me. So I had to sit down and ask myself some really hard questions and take these questions, use them, write them down, and sit with them to see what comes up for you. So I asked myself, what am I really afraid of here? What am I trying to protect myself from? And the answers weren't always pretty, let's be honest, right? They're not always pretty when you have to face them, but they're so freaking freeing because once you can name the fear and be like, I see you, fear of being seen or fear of freaking failure, I freaking see you and I don't want you, get out of here, right? You can really start to dismantle it and start to break down. Here's what I want you to do right now in this moment. I want you to think about a goal that you've been procrastinating on. So something that you've been meaning to get done for weeks or months or maybe even years, okay? And now I want you to ask yourself, what's that deeper fear? Are you afraid of failing and confirming your worst fears about yourself? Are you afraid of succeeding and the pressure that might come with it? Are you scared of being judged, criticized, or misunderstood? Or maybe you're worried that once you actually achieve it, you'll realize it doesn't make you as happy as you thought it would. And then what? What are you going to do then? Right? So get curious, get honest, and don't stop at that surface level answer, that first one that comes up, because the first answers that come up are always going to be surface level, and our brain always puts up resistance when we start going deeper. So really give yourself the time, space, and energy to work through this, because really it's in that deeper layer that you're going to find the belief that's been keeping you stuck. And here's the thing, once you see it, you can change it. You can change it. This is literally the bread and butter and the core of the work that I do with my clients. Before I tell them, do these meditations, eat this food, we address their limiting beliefs. And what you need to understand is that limiting beliefs aren't permanent. They're just a story that you've been telling yourself for so long that they feel like facts, but they're not. They are flexible and they can be rewritten. For me, I really had to reframe my fear of being seen. And I started to ask myself, what if standing out wasn't a bad thing? What if it means I'm leading, I'm inspiring, I'm creating impact? And reframing this fear allowed that fear to start shrinking in my mind. And with it, my procrastination started to dissolve because now the fear of being seen wasn't a fear at all. It's something I craved. It's something I wanted because of all the beautiful, positive things that came with it, essentially. Oh my God, I'm getting so fired up. I feel like this message is just for me as much as it is for you today. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. And you can really do the same. Once you uncover the belief that's holding you back, challenge it, flip it on its head, change the story, and ask yourself, is this really even true? And if it is it worth staying stuck over? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. It's no, okay? And the next time you catch yourself procrastinating, instead of beating yourself up, pause and get curious and ask yourself, what fear is showing up right now? What belief is driving this avoidance? Because once you can shift that belief, the behavior will naturally follow. Really, as you can see, procrastination isn't about laziness or lack of willpower. It's about protection. Your brain is trying to keep you safe from perceived threats, whether that is failure, success, judgment, or change. But the beautiful part is that you get to decide what's actually a threat or what is an old story that no longer serves you. So dig deep. Find the belief, question it, and then get back to work. This time, though, from a place of power, not from a place of fear. Because when you take control of your mindset, you take control of your future, and that's where the real productivity and transformation begin. The next thing you need to do is you need to build a strong enough purpose and why. Let's talk about this and really get deeper into this because this is absolutely a non negotiable, especially if you want to break free from procrastination. Having a strong purpose is so key because if you don't have a strong enough reason that is driving you, procrastination is going to win every single time. So, without a clear, meaningful why behind your goals, it becomes so easy to push them aside, right? Like, suddenly you're just scrolling through social media, you're watching another episode of that show you've already seen 3 times, or you're just endlessly reorganizing your desk for the 100th time instead of actually doing the hard stuff that's going to move the needle in your life forward. But when your purpose is rooted in something real, something that actually lights a fire inside of you, procrastination starts to lose its grip. You stop focusing on how hard or overwhelming a task is, and instead you start focusing on what's on the other side. And the bigger picture starts to become clearer to you, and suddenly the discomfort of taking action feels small compared to the reward of actually getting closer to what you want. So let me ask you this. Why do you want to be productive? And I'm not just talking about surface level answers like, because I should be, or I want to be more successful. Cool. I want you to dig deeper. Dig deeper. Like, why do you want to be successful? What's the one thing that you're working towards that you deeply want in your life? Is it financial freedom? Is it making an impact? Is it building a life that gives you more time with your family? Is it healing yourself so that you can finally feel at peace? Your why has to be deeply personal. It has to matter to you because when your why is strong enough, it becomes a fuel that powers you through the hard days, right? Because you're going to have the days where the motivation dries up, when the to-do list feels endless, when you feel exhausted and all you want to do is crawl under the covers and avoid everything. Your why is what's going to carry you forward. So let me give you an example from my life. My deepest why has always been about helping others and avoiding the pain and suffering that I went through with my mental health. There was a time in my place where I was deeply, deeply struggling with depression. And it felt like I was drowning every single day, like where waking up and breathing felt difficult. That's how painful of an experience is supposed to go through. And it wasn't just, feeling sad or a bad week. It was just this deep crushing weight that followed me everywhere. And I even ended up in the hospital because of it. And it was in that moment when, I literally hit what felt like rock bottom that something inside me really shifted. And I remember that night lying on the hospital bed, and one of my really close friends at that time was lying beside me, and I remember staring up at the hospital ceiling and just thinking that, first of all, what the F? What did I freaking get here? And then I was thinking that, like, if I don't do anything to change anything, I'll stay here. And that's when I was just like, I felt so much deep pain that brought me to this place in the first place. And if I make it through this, I want to help as many people as possible prevent themselves from ending up here in the first place. And that became my purpose. It wasn't just about building a business just to make money or having a shiny title, which is nothing wrong with that. I think we really need to get over this, like, money being a bad thing. Money is a good thing. It helps you change the world and make an impact. But really, for me, it was about creating resources, tools, and a space where people could actually heal, where they could find hope before they hit their own rock bottom. And that why is what became my anchor. And every time I wanted to give up, every time I felt overwhelmed or doubted myself, I'd come back to that purpose. And I'd ask myself, if I stop now, like, think about who I'm not helping. Think about who's still out there suffering, feeling alone because I didn't show up today. And that thought was powerful enough to push me through the fear and overwhelm and the procrastination. And that is what I truly want you to find for yourself. I want you to find something so deeply meaningful that not taking action feels worse than the discomfort of doing the work. And so let's break this down into a simple, actionable exercise. Like, if you haven't gotten a pen and paper and you're writing these things down, I don't know what you're doing, go do that right now. Open up a notes page on your laptop, whatever it is, write these things down because I want you to commit to doing these exercises because I want different for you, okay? So I want you to think about a big goal that you've been procrastinating on. You can take the goal from the last thing that I talked about or use a new one, right? So maybe it's starting a business, getting healthy, writing a book, or maybe you just want to become more disciplined with your time. Now ask yourself, why do I want this? And your first answer is going to be surface level. That's fine. Dig deeper. Keep asking yourself, and why this? Why this? Why this? Why this? Right? Why is this important? Keep going until you get to the real emotional core of it. So for example, let's say your goal is to get in better shape. So your first answer might be, because I want to look better. But why is that important? Maybe it's important because you want to feel confident. Okay, cool. Why is that important? Because having confidence allows you to show up fully in your life. It allows you to take risks, speak up for yourself, and create better relationships. Now we're getting somewhere. See, now we're getting somewhere. And now dig deeper. Why do you want that version of yourself? Maybe it's because growing up you felt invisible or overlooked, and now you're stepping into your own power and you're opening up to fully be seen. Like, boom, 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 boom. That is your freaking why, okay? It's not about the abs or weight loss. Like, yes, those are great things. We all, want to feel great in our body and have some abs, but it's about healing that part of yourself that's been craving that love, attention, and empowerment for years. That's the kind of why that makes you lace your shoes up on the days where you don't feel like working out. It's the kind of why that makes it personal. And the same goes for your career, your relationships, your health, like every single goal. You really have to know what's at stake here, because if your why is weak, your procrastination will always have the upper hand. You'll always want to procrastinate because you don't have a strong enough driving force or purpose to pull you forward. Because when your why is strong enough, it pulls you forward even when you're tired, even when you're scared, even when you feel like quitting. You're like, nah, I gotta make it through this. I gotta stick this out. So find that why, make it big, make it emotional, and make it so important that not showing up feels impossible. And when you're in the thick of it, when you're overwhelmed, when fear creeps in, when you start pushing things off, come back to it. Remind yourself of the person that you're becoming, the life that you're building, and the impact that you are creating. That's how you turn procrastination into purpose. That's how you shift from surviving your days to actually building something meaningful with them. And that's when productivity stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like a privilege. Because now, every task, every email, every hard decision, it all becomes part of something bigger, something that is worth fighting for you. Next, you want to create consequences that scare the shit out of you. And this is because humans are hardwired to avoid pain. It's a survival instinct that's kept us alive for thousands of years, right? Our brains are designed to steer us away from discomfort and anything that feels like a threat. This is why when you do anything new, your brain's like, it's uncomfortable, I don't want to do it. But you do it anyways, okay? And so here's the catch. This same instinct, unfortunately, is what keeps us stuck, right? When it comes to growth, success, and pursuing our goals, pain doesn't always look like danger. It looks like fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of stepping outside of our comfort zone. And procrastination, it's a perfect escape hatch. It lets us avoid discomfort in the short term, even though it creates way more pain in the long run. And here's what you can do to flip this script for yourself. You can start using that instinct to your advantage by making the cost of procrastination so real, so uncomfortable, that not taking action feels scarier than doing the hard thing itself. You need to create consequences that literally make you pause and think, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep living the same way. When I was working through my depression, the thing that finally forced me to make serious changes wasn't just a desire to feel better, it was fear. I ended up in the hospital because I'd let things go too far. And sitting there, as I mentioned before, right, is that I got terrified in that moment. And I was like, if I don't get serious about my healing and getting better, I'm going to end up here again. And like next time, I might not make it out. And that was truly my wake up call. The fear of that future, the one where I just kept spiraling deeper and deeper and deeper, was enough to just like shake me out of that cycle that I was stuck in, right? It wasn't just about positive thinking or finding motivation. It was about seeing the harsh reality of where I was headed if I didn't make change. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to get brutally honest with yourself for a minute. What happens if you don't change? If you don't stop procrastinating? If you don't start taking your goals seriously? Like picture it. Picture your life in 5 years if nothing shifts. You're still stuck in the same cycles. The goals you have right now, untouched. They're basically gathering dust, right? You can hear those crickets chirping. That business you wanted to start, it's still just an idea in your head. The health goals you keep putting off, they're just becoming bigger issues now. And maybe you feel more drained, more sluggish, more disconnected from your body. Financial goals, you're still struggling to make progress. And the most painful part, you know deep down it's because you keep hitting snooze on your potential. And now think about how that version of your life feels. Think about waking up every day still carrying that heaviness of unfinished dreams, still stuck in a job you hate, still surrounded by the same frustration, and worst of all, still having that nagging voice in the back of your mind whispering, you could have done so much more. That's the worst. That's the kind of future that should scare like the F out of you. Not because it's dramatic or extreme, because Yo, it's real. It's literally real. And that's what happens when procrastination becomes the default. It's not just about missing deadlines or running behind on to-do lists. It's about missing out on the life you actually want to live. And here's the flip part. This is the part that matters the most. You have the power to change that outcome. Right now, you can draw a line in the sand and say, I'm done letting procrastination run the show. And sometimes that decision comes from, visualizing the life that you want, but it comes from really staring down the nightmare of the life that you don't want and saying to yourself, hell no, I am not ending up here. So if the idea of your future staying exactly as it is, or worse, slipping further backwards doesn't shake you a little, dig deeper and ask yourself, what will it cost me if I don't take action? My health? My relationships, my happiness? Because until the pain of staying stuck outweighs the pain of taking action, procrastination will always win. So use this. Let it fuel you. Let it create a sense of urgency that pulls you out of the loop of I'll do it later, because the longer you wait, the more comfortable that future becomes and the harder it is to break out of it. This next hack is my all-time favorite hack called Eat the Frog First. I know it sounds kind of weird, okay, but stick with me. It's a total game changer. This idea comes from Mark Twain, who said, if it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. Why? And that's because if you can get the hardest, most uncomfortable task out of the way, like right off the bat, everything else you have to do feels so much easier by comparison. So what's the frog? The frog is that one task you keep avoiding, the thing that feels heavy, overwhelming, or downright annoying, but would make the biggest impact if you actually got it done. So it's the email you've been dreading, the call you keep putting off, the paperwork you don't want to look at, or that big project that's been sitting on your to-do list for weeks. It's the task that lingers in the back of your mind, just stealing your energy all day because you know you should be doing it, but you keep pushing it off till later. Here's an example. Let's say you've been putting off calling your insurance company about a bill issue. It's been sitting on your list for weeks, and every time you think about doing it, you just feel this wave of dread. So you ignore it, right? Let's do that, because your brain doesn't like to experience waves of dread. So you go make a coffee, you go do that other easier task, but that call, it's still there. It's still there in your mind. It's taking up space, and it's causing that like low-grade anxiety in the background. And then after avoiding it for too long, you make that call and it takes 10 minutes and you're just like, okay, well, I feel 10 pounds lighter. Like, why did I even avoid that in the first place? Okay? Like, it happens to me all the time. Or maybe it's that huge project for work that keeps feeling overwhelming and you keep telling yourself, I'll start tomorrow. But every day you delay it, it looms, larger and larger and longer and longer in your mind. So instead of chipping away at it when your energy is like fresh and feeling good, you end up scrambling in the last minute in a stress-fueled panic. And so you want to avoid that. Let's avoid doing things last minute in that stress-fueled panic. So eating the frog first means opening the project first thing in the morning, before your brain can come up with excuses, and making just even the smallest dent in it. That way you start your day with momentum and not dread. And when you do the hardest thing first, you immediately feel a sense of accomplishment. It's like that mental energy boost that carries you through the rest of your day. And the rest of your to-do list feels lighter because the heaviest, most intimidating thing is almost done. Plus, you stop wasting mental energy thinking about it, worrying about it, or just beating yourself up for not doing it. I can't, again, tell you just how many times I've put off things for days, weeks, only to finally do it and realize that it took way less time than it spent thinking about it, right? So maybe it was that awkward email I didn't want to send or booking an appointment, or just, avoiding some mundane task that honestly only took me like 15 minutes to do, but it was just weighing on me for days and days and days. So here's what I want you to do. Tomorrow morning, before you check your emails, before you scroll on socials, before you do the easy mindless stuff, find your frog. Like, literally look at your to-do list and be like, what's my frog? What's my frog? What's that thing that I've been avoiding that would actually move me forward if I took that action? Circle it, call it the frog, and then do it first thing. No stalling, no overthinking, get it done, all right? And then you're gonna be shocked at how much lighter and better you just feel, and then it's gonna give you momentum. That is probably the most powerful thing about eating that frog first, is that it carries into everything else that you do that day. So instead of starting from a place of avoidance, you're starting from a place of power. And when you start building this habit of eating the frog first, procrastination loses its grip on you. You stop letting fear or discomfort run the show, and you prove to yourself day after day you can handle hard things. And this is how you build a strong brain. This is how you build true resilience. And that's when your productivity really starts to soar. Next, we need to talk about distractions, all right? Let's get real about this shit. Because we live in a world that's literally designed to steal your focus. Everywhere you look, there's just like these pings, these feeds, these like browser tabs, these data dudas just trying to take all your attention. And they're trying to keep it. Even when you think you're focusing, there are tiny interruptions that are just pulling your brain in different directions, making it nearly impossible for you to get deep, productive work done. And most of the time, you don't even realize how much these distractions are affecting you. Let me give you an example here. Let's say you're working on an important project, right? You got your coffee, laptop's open, you're just like, yeah, let's go, let's do this. And then ding, bing, bada boom, whatever, right? And then your phone screen lights up. A text from a friend, and you're just like, okay, let me just quickly reply. We're just, we're planning out what's happening this weekend, so let me just quickly reply to it, okay? No big deal. And then another bing, email notification pops up. You're just like, oh my God, okay, let me just reply back to this really fast. It's my colleague asking a question. And then suddenly, before you know it, you're halfway through your inbox before you realize you've just completely wandered off track, right? This is a cycle that repeats all day. And then you end your workday and you're just like, I didn't really get anything done. And here's what you probably don't realize. Every time you shift your focus, it takes your brain about 20 minutes to fully refocus on the original task. And multiply that by dozens of times a day, you get distracted, right? And it's no wonder you feel like you've worked all day, but you haven't got anything done. And for me, I had to get brutally honest about what was pulling my focus. So this is an example here. Like, I love natural light. Okay, who doesn't love a big giant window to stare out into the abyss and think about life with, right? So I love natural light, and I used to set my desk right in front of a big window. Lots of sunlight pouring in, seeing my plants thriving. And it was like such a beautiful aesthetic zone, or so I thought. But every few minutes, literally, I just catch myself zoning out and watching people walk by. Okay, I live in downtown Toronto, so there's always something happening on the street. And it just completely take me out of my focus and lose track, and I just like zone off thinking about things. It was so subtle, but I noticed it literally happening all the time. So I moved my desk to face a wall. It's not Pinterest worthy, right? Like, you don't see me sharing my desk space on the IGs and socials. Maybe I should though, because I think we need to stop hyping up aesthetic places that people just spend so much money on, because you don't have to do it like that. But essentially, the space, it forced me to stay focused on what was in front of me and not whatever was going on outside in a Toronto street. It wasn't just my physical environment. I really had to set serious boundaries around my phone and computer too. Phones are like mini distraction machines. I'd be in the middle of writing something important and then I get a ding, a random text, or I'd pick up my phone to check the time, and then 20 minutes later, I'm scrolling reels. Now all of a sudden I'm looking at how do I make the perfect avocado toast in the morning. It was just killing my productivity. Or I would answer phone calls with friends during the middle of my workday, and then I'd spend an hour on the phone with them. And then I'd be like, oops, I didn't get any of my work done. So now when I'm working, my phone is on focus mode. Your phone, if you have an iPhone, by the way, does have these modes. Use them. And only a handful of people like my family or key contacts can reach me during the time. No social media notifications. Turn those off. Why do you need to freaking see when someone sends you a message on Instagram, or someone shares a TikTok video with you? You don't need to see that. Turn that shit off. It's like the most distracting thing ever. And sometimes I'm around people and like I can see all their notifications and dings. And I'm just like, how do you get anything done? I'm just getting stressed out looking at your phone screen. So freaking turn your notifications off on social media. You don't need to see that shit. You can see that stuff when you go on there, okay? And even in that focus mode, no random texts pop up. I think it's literally just like my parents who can reach me. And I also use focus apps on my computer to block distracting websites during work hours. I don't use them as frequently. I find that the focus timer thing that you can use on your laptop and your computer, they coincide for me at least together, because I have like an Apple Mac and an iPhone. So because they coincide together, I find that just keeps my distractions at bay. But you can use websites that block distracting websites and things like that as well, if you feel like you need that help and support. And I've seen such a big shift in my ability to work properly. Like, I'm getting way more done in less time because I'm not constantly losing focus and trying to get back into the zone. Here's the real shift I want you to keep in mind. It wasn't just about the tools or apps. It was learning to take myself seriously and my time seriously. There was a time where I would let anybody interrupt me at any moment. A text would come in and I'd reply instantly. A friend would call and I would answer, even if I was deep into something important. And essentially, I didn't value my time, so no one else did either. But when I made the decision to treat my time like it was precious, like it mattered, everything changed. Now when I'm in work mode, I am in work mode, all right? We in boss work mode. And people know that if I'm not responding right away, it's because I'm focused, not because I'm ignoring them. And here's what I want you to really take away from this. You have to create an environment that sets you up to win. Is your environment setting you up to win? That means cutting out distractions before they have the chance to pull you off course. If you're constantly getting distracted, it's not because you're lazy or have zero willpower. It's probably because your environment is working against you, so fix it. You have power and control over this. If your phone is your biggest distraction, put it in another room while you work. If you're someone who can't resist the pull of social media, Let's be honest, the pull of social media is so real. Like every time I go on TikTok and I'm like, yeah, I can see why people spend hours on this app. But take control of that, okay? If you find your mind wandering while you're working, try to set a simple timer. Like set a 25 or 45-minute timer and continue to fully focus on working and then take that 5-minute break and then do it again. This will help your brain focus in those short, powerful bursts. And if you've got people in your life who are constantly texting or calling you while you're working, communicate your boundaries. Let them know you are unavailable during certain hours, but you'll get back to them afterwards. And you'll be surprised at, how quickly people do respect your time when you start respecting it first. So at the end of the day, right, productivity, it isn't just about working harder, it's about working smarter. And eliminating distractions is one of the simplest, most powerful ways to make that happen. So look around at what's stealing your focus and then cut it out ruthlessly, okay? Because your time is valuable, your energy is valuable, and the more you protect it, the more unstoppable you become. Lastly, here's something a lot of productivity advice skips over. And it skips over the fact is that there's no perfect one size fits all system. You need to be open to experimenting with things. I know that it's not the shiny package solution that you might want to hear, but it's the truth. What works for your favorite productivity guru on YouTube might not work for you. And what works for your friend who's just like, oh my God, Pomodoro technique, it could actually leave you feeling more stressed. Like I actually have friends who are just like 25 minutes stresses me out. I can't get enough work done or get into the flow of things. That's okay. Productivity is deeply personal. It's not about forcing yourself into someone else's framework. It's about discovering what works for you, and that requires that experimentation. Like think about it this way, your energy levels fluctuate throughout the day. Your focus comes in waves and your brain processes information in a way that's unique to you. So why would a single system magically fit every person? It won't. And the quicker you embrace that, the quicker you'll stop beating yourself up for not thriving under methods that just don't align with how you work best. So let me give you an example, right? Right now I'm experimenting with using a timer during my work sessions. It's nothing fancy. I literally just have a little $10 timer clock from Amazon, and I set a specific block of time on it, right? Usually 45 minutes, and try to commit to fully focusing until that time runs out. And honestly, I love it. There's just something about seeing that clock tick down that just lights a fire under me. It's just like, oh my God, it's like a competition race for me, right? It creates that mini sense of urgency, and it just keeps me locked into my work. And it turns work into a bit of a game, and I love me a good game during the workday, right? And I'm just like, can I beat the clock? Like, let's go. And then sometimes I'll reward myself afterwards with something healthy, like a walk or something like that. And it just makes the whole process way more fun and surprisingly also way more efficient. But here's the thing, that method might not work for you. Maybe watching a timer count down makes you feel anxious instead of motivated. Or maybe you prefer those longer, uninterrupted, deep work sessions. Or maybe you like those short, high energy sprints. Or maybe your brain kicks into focus mode best in the mornings. Or maybe you're a night owl who doesn't hit your creative peak until 10 p.m. This is why experimenting is so crucial. Some people thrive in complete silence where others need background noise or music to get into the zone. I know people who work best in cafes surrounded by that buzz of conversation, and others who are just total isolation, don't talk to me. I had a phase where I loved working in co-working spaces and being around other people. This helped me be productive. But now I'm in this place where I'm just I don't want to work around anybody. I want that solitude, and that's when I get my deepest, best work done, and I can save hanging out with friends at the end of my workday, right? But now I'm just any little noise throws me off. I don't like it. So both are valid. You're allowed to be in either stage or place in life. It's all about really tuning into what you need right now the most in this moment that you are in today. Even the smallest tweaks can make a huge difference. So maybe you notice that you're sluggish every afternoon. So instead of trying to force your brain into deep work mode, you shift your schedule to do lighter, more administrative tasks during that slump and save your focus heavy work for those peak energy hours. Or maybe you realize that physically changing locations during the day helps you reset your brain. So you switch between your desk, a coffee shop, or even the kitchen table. The point is that don't assume something doesn't work for you because it didn't work for you right away also, okay? You need to give yourself permission to test different strategies and give those strategies fair amount of time. For example, with my patients, when I tell them to meditate, I'm like, okay, you're not gonna feel like a rock star after one meditation. You need to do it over and over again. Give it a fair chance to see if it works for you. And what you wanna do is you wanna notice what feels energizing, what feels draining, and what actually helps you get into that state of flow. Sometimes it takes a bit of that trial and error to figure it out, and that's not a failure, it's a part of the process. And here's the mindset shift that I want you to make. Instead of seeing productivity as this rigid, all or nothing system, see it as a toolbox. And every time you try a new technique, you're either adding a tool to your kit or realizing that one doesn't work for you, and that's valuable information. Over time, what's going to happen is you're going to build your custom system, one that's designed specifically around your energy, your focus, your patterns, and your unique needs. This also now means being flexible. What works for you during one season of life might not work in another. So I've had phases where I thrived on strict schedules and to-do lists, and other phases where I just needed more fluidity and space for creativity. So both were productive, but just in different ways. And don't underestimate the power of small experiments. Try working in a new location for a day. Test out that app that blocks those distractions. Set a timer and see if the urgency helps you. Switch between working in silence and putting on a focused playlist. So each tweak gives you insight into actually what is helping you work your best. Here's your challenge. Pick one new strategy to try this week. It could be simple as shifting your working hours, experimenting with time blocks, or decluttering your workspace. See how it feels. Notice if it helps you focus or if it makes things harder, then adjust accordingly. Productivity isn't about perfection, it's about finding what works. And when you let go of the pressure to fit someone else's system and start creating your own, that's when everything changes. That's when procrastination really starts to lose its grip and you finally feel like you're tapping into that natural flow that you have. So get curious, get playful, and remember, every experiment brings you one step closer to building a system that actually works for you. So if there's one thing I want you to walk away with, it's this. You are so much more powerful than you think you are. Procrastination loves to whisper in your ear that you're lazy, you're unmotivated, or incapable. It tries to convince you that you're always stuck, that you'll always be stuck, that no matter how hard you try, you'll never break out of this cycle. But let me tell you this right now, this is a lie. You are not broken, you are not lazy, you are not incapable. You are simply operating under patterns and behaviors that aren't serving you right now. And just like any habit, just like any pattern, these can be rewritten, these can be changed. Your brain is designed to adapt, it's built for change. You can literally rewire your thinking, shift your focus, and completely transform the way that you show up in your life. But it starts with one thing: deciding that you are done believing the old story, the one that says you can't be productive, the one that says you'll struggle with procrastination, that success is for other people but not for you. That story ends today. So here's where you start. Start telling yourself a different narrative. Tell yourself you're productive. Tell yourself you're capable, that you can take action even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's uncomfortable. Because when you change the way you talk to yourself, you change the way you show up for yourself. And you also don't have to do this alone. One of the biggest reasons people stay stuck in cycles of procrastination and self-doubt is because they don't have the right support, the right tools, or the right strategies to actually get their brain working for them instead of against them. This is why I created the Brain Max Masterclass, where I teach you the 6 pillars of great brain health so you can stop fighting your brain and start unlocking your full potential. If you've been struggling with focus, motivation, or just feeling stuck in cycles of procrastination, this is where you start. Because once you optimize your brain, everything in your life starts to shift. Or if you want to go deeper and you want to work directly with me, book a complimentary breakthrough session. In this session, we'll uncover exactly what's been holding you back, what limiting beliefs are keeping you stuck, and how to rewire your mind for success. So if you want to stop spinning your wheels and finally take back that control of your productivity, your energy, and your mindset, then this session is your next step. Take action, and I'm going to end off by reminding you that you're not behind, you're not failing, and you're not broken. You are capable of so much more than you realize, and the moment you decide to believe in yourself, even just a little, is the moment everything starts to change.